What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of JohnnyVTV Live. Join with me are my very dear friends, Mr. Kyle Donnelly and Nick Durst. How we doing, boys? Kyle, let's have it. Go ahead. Let's get it out of the way.
It's hockey season, baby. Yeah.
That's not what I was expecting.
I don't think that's where we're going.
That was not where I was going. Not at all.
Oh, okay. Your ALDS winners, the Boston Red Sox. Yeah. How about it?
Yeah, honestly, unbelievable.
Why are you wearing a Titans hat and not a Red Sox hat?
I actually got two Red Sox hats. I was looking for my Devils hat, actually, being that, you know, you were wearing your Ranger swag last week, Nick. I was looking for the Devils swag.
Astros. Let's hope Dusty Baker could pull it off. Gets the World Series. Nothing against the Red Sox, but I hate Alex Cora.
If I wasn't with you two mutts, I might be going to the Lightning game tonight. But I decided I'd rather do this than go to the Lightning.
The Rays needed you there. I don't know. The Rays collapsed without you.
They sure did.
I got to be honest. I'm upset because I was like, all right, listen. They had their first couple of games here, and I kind of slept on it. I didn't go. But then in the back of my mind, by the way, I think I mentioned this. The tickets were – I understand it's the playoffs, but it's the Rays. It was honestly more expensive than I thought. It was like over $150, like in that range to go to a playoff game. And I'm like, I got to be honest. They charge like $40 for regular season. And to tell you the truth, it was pretty packed looking at TV. I was like, wow, people actually care. Like nobody ever cares about baseball down here. And I was like, all right, you know what? Like they're going to get through the Red Sox. If nothing else, we're going to get a game 5 in Tampa and I'll hit it. Like that'll teach me to procrastinate. I'm really upset because I was looking forward to going to a Rays game here.
Yeah, now they're saying next year they're going to play half their games in Tampa, half their games in Montreal. So who even knows when your next opportunity would be to go to a playoff game because I guess the ALDS next year will be in Montreal.
Tampa Bay Rays becoming the Montreal Expos in the American League.
Wait, do we think that's actually going to happen?
I'm just throwing that out there right now.
I think it's going to happen because they are not happy with their attendance in Tampa Bay, so they're not getting money, and they can't build a new stadium because the state doesn't want it. So I think it's a stupid idea. After the first homestand, the novelty wear off. The Expos fans won't really come out that much. But I think if you're a player, I mean, that sucks. And, not that they sign up free agents anyway, but that's a tough sell to attract somebody to come play in 2 different countries throughout the season.
This is a strong arm. Now that I remember it, this is a strong arm negotiation tactic, as most owners do, threatening to leave the city. What's happening is the Trop is in St. Petersburg. It's not actually in Tampa. And some people find it very annoying to get to. It's not that bad. It's much harder to go to Yankee Stadium if you want to go to a Yankees game. But the whole premise is they're talking about gentrifying Ybor. Ybor is the oldest part of Tampa, and it's like really cool. It's like a lot of like the Cuban stuff, and there's a lot of cool stuff going back over 100 years. So there was a thought that they were going to put a brand new stadium like in the middle of Ybor, kind of how if I could relate it to anything, kind of how the Garden is in the middle of New York City, something along those lines. Now, I'm not 100% sure, but I think this is like a strong arm tactic that if the city doesn't want to do it, then they're going to be like, all right, well, you know what? We're going to transition ourselves to Montreal. I don't know if I buy that, but it's definitely a wait and see approach.
Didn't they just get like a new building with the Trop? Like, wasn't that like just built only like 10, 15 years ago?
I don't know, man, but people hate the Trop. I don't get it. I don't think it's that bad. I mean, there's certain things.
The Trop's only 23 years old, but the problem is like you saw that home run with Nelson Cruz. It's like, oh, did it hit the C catwalk or the D? That's kind of annoying. You can't really have that. But listen, I don't think the Trop is as bad as they make it out to be. But haven't been there personally, but. Essentially, the Rays president came out a day ago and said a full season of baseball is next to impossible in the Tampa area. And he's I think John is right. It's a negotiation tactic here. But listen, I mean, the A's have been trying to do this for like 30 years to get a new stadium here. But the Rays just want to get this sister city, plan here. They don't want to be in St. Petersburg anymore. they had plans to, I think, they were supposed to actually put signs up during the postseason promoting plans to be in Montreal, but there was heavy pushback on social media, and really so, and they took it down before the first came out. I just don't see how that's going to work.
Well, that's a conversation for another day, because as it stands right now, we have MLB playoffs literally going on as we speak. And unfortunately, we had to see Kyle's team, the Red Sox. He's been talking them up all season, and I was like, all right, like, bro, they exceeded my expectations, but
I definitely was not talking them up all season.
Come on,
I was waiting for the bottom to fall. Look at 2 episodes ago when I'm talking.
So was
down.
I was waiting for the bottom to fall too.
I'm a Sox fan talking them down 2 episodes ago
at the deadline when they were in first place.
I'm very disappointed.
I wanted them to sell on Matt Barnes at the deadline, their closer. Let's be real.
But so the Red Sox are moving on. It looks like the Astros, the clock's about to strike midnight. The Astros are up 7-1 in the bottom of the 8th with 2 outs on the White Sox. I mean, Chicago, man, that's disappointing. I wanted to see them move on. And then in the NL, there's 2 closeout games going on. I cannot believe, and all credit to the Atlanta Braves, because I thought they were dead in the water after they lost Ronald Acuna. I thought there was no way. Not only did they make the playoffs, but they come back to make the division. Now they're 1 game away from putting the Milwaukee Brewers, who were a lot of teams' surprise NL pick, completely out of the picture. And then the San Francisco Giants, man, they've been the best team in baseball all season. I will say I was the first one to admit that I was wrong about them. I was waiting for the other shoe to drop on the Giants. They're 1 game away from putting away the LA Dodgers. Mad Max Scherzer, 7 innings, 10 Ks, only lets up 1 run, a home run to Evan Longoria. That was the difference last night. So we have a lot going on here. What do you guys think in terms of the World Series? Who do you think's moving on?
Well, Astros, and I'm going to hold out some faith here and hope the Brewers could come back. But their offense has been horrible. But if they can win this game, Johnny, you know who they got on the hill in Game 5, your guy. So, I think we'll see what happens in this one game. I think if they get to a Game 5, they're going to put it together. Dodgers, Giants, equally matched. I fully expect that to go 5 games. I think the Astros are going to just give a big FU to everybody and win the World Series this year, though.
I could definitely see the Astros being motivated, Nick. That's the one thing that probably worries me as a Red Sox fan. But the Red Sox are hot right now. So being that I obviously picked it to be a Rays Giants World Series, I'm going to have to switch my pick, and I'm going to stay home on this one. I'm going to go with the Red Sox. I like where they're at right now. Nick Pivetta looked great the other night, and so did Houck looked great the other night coming in the 2nd inning in relief of Chris Sale in Game 2 after he gives up 5 in the 1st inning. I mean, good Lord. Had me sweating as a Red Sox fan. We get 2 early runs really quickly and then 5 runs right in the bottom of the 1st like that. And, he comes in and he shuts the door, gives, Boston essentially a chance to come back and win the series right from there.
Kevin Cash was just
pushed all the wrong buttons.
Wrong button. Since the World Series, he's pushing the wrong buttons. I honestly think even if they had Glass now, he would have pulled him in the 3rd inning. I mean, how do you just cannot pull your starting pitchers in a 3rd inning and then expect they're going to go 7 innings, 10 innings in the extra inning games
with the
bullpen. You're going to be dead the next day, and it came back to cost them. And then obviously we got to discuss the Kiermaier's ground rule double, which was crazy.
That was a crazy play.
It's over the wall, and then what is Cash doing? You got to walk Kiki Hernandez last night. You have to walk the bases loaded and try to go for the double play.
Speaking of Kevin Kiermaier there, how about that throw to 3rd base to get Verdugo out, man? I mean, I don't think Verdugo's hand comes off the bag there. I think his hand is on the bag, but I mean, that's a hell of a throw by Kiermaier, nonetheless.
I think Kevin Cash, for whatever reason, he's a great manager, and I don't know if there's anybody in the MLB that does more with less than Kevin Cash. Look, the Rays got their first 100-win season in franchise history this year. And when you look at it, as he did last year, he just panics too early, pushes the wrong buttons, especially when it comes to his pitchers. I don't understand it. Like, let your guys go out there and try and eat up some innings. And he did this last season with Blake Snell, and it arguably cost him a shot at winning the World Series. And yet again, this happens. Maybe takes Tyler Glasnow out. That was a huge blow. Like, they really could have used a guy like Tyler Glasnow, who you guys know he was my AL Cy Young pick coming into the year. Health is the biggest concern. He was showing out. He was putting it all together. It sucks to see for Tampa. I mean, listen, I just don't see the Red Sox beating the Astros. The Astros at this point seem like a walk-in for the AL pennant. And on the NL side, I got to give it, man. Like, seems like it's going to be the San Francisco Giants. I've been avoiding them all season long, and the chickens might finally come home to roost. I mean, I do expect the Giant or the Dodgers to win tonight. Walker Buehler's on short rest, which is never, it's never easy. But I expect the Dodgers to come out, get this clutch elimination game dub, and then probably we might see Max Scherzer on another short rest, although I highly doubt it. It might be more Julio Arias, but then I think the Giants take it from there. So we're looking like an Astros-Giants World Series here.
Look, all I'm going to say, because I'm clearly not going to get anywhere with this group on selling the Boston Red Sox, so I'm just going to make it a moot point at this point. But I will say this. It would have been interesting to really see White Sox and Red Sox, because simply of the Chris Sale trade. I was literally thinking of that like last night. I was like, wow, that would be something if Chicago could come all the way back. And then what we traded for to get that starting ace, and now some of the prospects, Juan Moncada is one of their star players over there in Chicago on the hot corner.
Absolutely, man. But that's enough baseball talk, because it's still NFL season, and we got a great guest tonight. We worked with her. Where do we work with her, Nick?
In the zone.
In the zone, not AutoZone. We got our good friend, arena host Jackie Daly, joining JohnnyVTV Live. How's it going, Miss Jackie Daly?
Hi, guys. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. We miss you. Like, what have you been up to? How's everything going?
I know. Things have been crazy, right? Yeah. So I've just been doing the usual. I'm really excited. Hockey season's here. I definitely have some final thoughts about that once we talk about football. Yeah, just doing my stuff. And that's kind of it. Just making videos and talking sports. And you're not going to sell me on the Red Sox either. So. That's all I have to say.
That's fine. I'm ready to take on all haters all day long.
Although I don't know if it's Houston or Boston. I don't know. I'm like, I have it against the Astros too. So we'll see.
You can't play both sides of the fence here. There's got to be a choice one way or the other.
I know. I would have to think strongly about that one, to be honest, but we'll see.
Yankees fan worst nightmare.
Literally, it is. It's a Yankees fan worst nightmare. But
I'm not losing sleep over it.
Well,
because you're a Red Sox fan. Shut up, Astros.
We're not either, but just not something that we want to.
I mean, it seems like it a little bit. That's just me.
So we're in the middle of football season here, and typically, Jackie, every week what we do, we react to the week before. So before we jump into the next week.
Yeah.
So lead us off here. What were your reactions to week 5? Who or what stood out to you?
Oh my God.
Most directly.
It's like, where do you even start? Week 5 was absolutely wild. First things first, I am a Giants fan, and I'm so sorry for that. I'm so sorry for myself. And it just was really a hard game to watch for Giants fans, I think, because now every single weapon that Daniel Jones, and he's even out, they're gone. Okay, Saquon's out with a huge ankle, some sort of sprain. Have they released that final diagnosis? I haven't heard.
That was a softball on his ankle.
It was a softball. It was really hard to see, and that was he just came back, and I think last game Saquon finally started to look good. The first couple of games, it was kind of like, is he really healthy? I don't know. I can't tell. But that game was really hard to watch. Seeing Daniel Jones trip over himself, walking off the field. Already wide receivers Darius Slayton and Sterling Shepard, they're out. Kenny Galladay, wide receiver Kenny Galladay, he's out now. We like, who is there even? And then now wide receiver Kadarius Toney is injured and also doesn't know how to behave. So it's like, what do we do from here? So that's kind of was one of my biggest takeaways. I actually had a conversation with one of my friends on Sunday night, and he was like, he's a Patriots fan, and I was like, the Patriots, they won. They barely won. And then he was like, yeah, but what did the Giants do? And my first sentence, I go, they went to the hospital. Like, that's what they did. They went to the hospital. So, yeah. So that's kind of where my head was at with that. But I thought it was crazy with all the missed field goals, the things you're seeing. Like, have we ever seen so many extra points missed? It's just absolutely insane what happened with Green Bay. And last night, the Colts kicker, Rodrigo Blankenship, something was up with him. So all the kicking situations happened. And then the bomb before last night with former Raiders head coach John Gruden, that was wild. He always kind of struck me as kind of like an undercover sleazy person, and it kind of got exposed yesterday. So I'm happy to see that was figured out and things can you can move on from here. But I feel bad for the players. I feel bad for everybody involved. It seemed like they had a good thing going. Hopefully they can continue. And then just the quarterback situations, all the quarterbacks that threw for over 400 yards and threw 4 or 5 TDs, and Justin Herbert for getting me 47 points in fantasy. I'm like, okay. So yeah, those are a few of my top things that stuck out.
One more thing on your kicking point there, Jackie. One more kick missed, and there would have been a tie for most kicks missed on a Sunday.
Yeah, I read that stat. Like, that is absolutely insane. And you know what's crazy too is that a lot of these kickers are so strong. I know with Graham Gano, he recently, just last game, cut his active streak of kicks made. I think Kenny Albert jinxed him. And but it's just crazy. Something's in the water with the kickers. But there's worse things. But I just
Blankenship gets hurt too last night as well.
Yeah, like something was weird with his first kick, and they put the backup kicker in, and then he missed wide, and everything was like a little weird. So I hope everybody's okay, because I can't imagine being a kicker. Like, that has to be one of the toughest jobs on a team, not because of, collisions and not because of physicality, but just the precision with the art of knowing how to kick. Actually, if you can see behind me, this book, The Point After, from Sean Conley, who was a kicker who he bounced from training camp to training camp to training camp. It details all of the things that kickers go through. And I actually, since I've read that book, I look at the kicking position in a completely different light. So I recommend that book to everybody. Sean's now one of my good friends. I'm like, we talk all the time. So
like John Sterling would say to Susan, that's baseball, Susan. That's football, Jackie.
Yeah.
All the craziness that ensues with kicking and all the injuries.
I know. It's wild. So yeah, I mean, I think first and foremost, that's kind of what stuck out to me in week 5.
Nick, what about you, buddy?
All right. First, what stands out to me in this episode is Kyle has been pounding his drink with pumpkin from Dunkin'. I mean, this guy's just pick it up, Kyle. Let's see it. Let's see that cup again. I mean, this is like the 5th time today he's been chugging that thing.
Is it a pumpkin spice latte?
Oh, God.
A large hot, no milk. Or a large hot, just milk, excuse me.
Okay.
I was going to kick you off if it was pumpkin. Anyway, proceed, Nick.
You're not seeing me drinking any of that fall garbage. Not having it.
Good.
What stands out to me is 2 things, really. Number one has got to be that, it's just incredible that the Jets find new ways to lose every single week. You could put them in London. You could put them in Mexico, Canada, play them in New Jersey. It does not matter. They're going to find a way to lose the game. But what really stood out to me is the Bills, the Buffalo Bills, showing everybody that they're the best team in the AFC. Really looking forward to this Bills Chargers AFC Championship game. That's going to be a lot of fun. Is it going to be in the snow in Buffalo, or is it going to be a little lightning delay indoors in the SoFi Stadium in California? What are they going to do, the NFL, if the Chargers and the Rams are both playing home games in the same stadium? I guess one will play Saturday, one will play Sunday. Or as Johnny likes to point out, the Super Wild Card Weekend, which is now on a Monday.
Shut up. It's not Super Wild Card Weekend. It's just Wild Card Weekend. Just because you put the adjective super in front of it doesn't make it any better. It's still Wild Card Weekend, and they're idiots for putting it on Monday. I
literally think the NFL added the word super.
Yeah, like it's not. There's nothing super about it because
it's a really shitty WWE marketing ploy. Really, let's put it that way.
Kyle, we don't use that language here.
So I apologize. Sorry.
Mute yourself, or I'll do it for you. In any case,
listen, Josh Allen, man. I mean, this guy. If he's not a top 5 quarterback, I don't know who is.
All right. Well, listen, let's get down to brass tacks here, as Saul Goodman would say. First off, the Buffalo Bills, I'll give them credit, give it where it's due. They played a hell of a game in Kansas City on Sunday night. I don't buy them. I mean, they might have a butter schedule coming up, so be it. But, I don't think Buffalo is that good. I thought they were due for regression this year. Their schedules really blessed them. Their defense is hella overrated. Their offense is not that good. Josh Allen has really not played that well this season. Everyone's going to be like, oh, look at his numbers. Be like, no, he really has not played that well. Now, what stood out to me, and I got to say this, Kansas City has got to figure it out. I understand Chris Jones was missing on Sunday. That's a gigantic loss. He's a centerpiece for their defense, which already sucks as it is. But their defense is on a historically bad rate. I think they're averaging over 7 yards per play to the opposing offense. Everything's falling on Patrick Mahomes. They need another weapon because Tyreek Hill, Buffalo blueprint on how you take him out with the high-low, with the safeties, where you just refuse to let him beat you deep. And then Travis Kelce, he didn't do anything special. They need another guy. Now Clyde Edwards-Helaire goes down. It looks like Kansas City is going to be in real trouble. Who knows? Of course, we expect them to make the playoffs, but there's a legitimate shot that they're going to have to go on the road for the rest of the postseason and go 5 games in a row on the road and win them all. And that is a very tall task. Next, I have to say this. Justin Herbert, man, God bless. This kid is looking like an MVP. Like we say, Herbie fully loaded, coming out with 400 yards, 5 total tuds. Kid's looking like an absolute savage out here. MVP frontrunner. Absolutely love to see it. This Mahomes-Herbert rivalry for the next 10 years is going to be like the new Manning-Brady going back when we were growing up. This is going to be something else. Justin Herbert, the Miami Dolphins have to be kicking themselves for not taking Herbert over to Tagovailoa. This is going to be one of the major regrets of their lives. Look what Justin Herbert's doing. Not saying what he's doing here in this offense with this team is necessarily what he would be doing in Miami, but it just sheds light on what they passed up. The kid is electric. He does things maybe only Patrick Mahomes in the NFL can do, and Aaron Rodgers in his prime. He makes throws that one other quarterback, maybe 2, can make, and he's sensational.
Yeah, speaking of great QB play, how about Tom Brady? 5 touchdowns. This is just if he keeps with these numbers,
at 44,
they'll vote for him for MVP, no doubt about it.
Andrew Cayley will tell you, our good friend Andrew Cayley, who I do a betting show with every Friday, will tell you, before the season started, Tom Brady, I saw him at plus 1,200 to win MVP. And I sent out a tweet, and Matthew Stafford was my guy, and I still have a lot of faith in Stafford. To me, he's done nothing to lose. He's right there. It's just a big mess. It's going to separate itself over the rest of the season. However, I said, I got to be honest, Tom Brady plus 1,200, I would even throw $50 on it to get 600 before the season started, because when you look at it, I've highlighted all summer, Bruce Arians, year 2 in his system was when quarterbacks shine. I said that all offseason, i.e. Carson Palmer 2015. Now Tom Brady, chickens are coming home to roost. he's looking like an absolute dog this year, except for the New England game, which we could have predicted. 5 tutties, maybe a little stat padding against Miami. There's a realistic shot we could be seeing 4,800 yards and another 40 tutty season from TB12. He doesn't age. The guy doesn't eat bread. I love it from a diet perspective. So that's a very good call. You would have saw my tweet about that.
I love it from a diet perspective too. I think what he's doing is amazing.
What, the no bread?
Well, just being gluten-free, I think he definitely is a little bit too extreme, but hey, how can you argue that? Because he's crushing it still at 44 years old. He's just so confident too. I think that plays in, like, his mind is so smart. Like, you can almost see when he's in the pocket trying to make a play and say, like, what they were going to do isn't like the play that was called is something happens and he can't make that throw. Like, he always knows, like, what to do. And I know that comes with experience, but still, he's still so calm and is not afraid to get sacked. However, he probably understands, like, you need to have a good offensive line. And he's pretty much had that most of his career, which some other quarterbacks don't have that. And they're not able to have this time or space. So I think he's really lucky in respect to the types of players that he's been with. But he's so talented. And I think the way he treats his body definitely speaks to how well he's still performing at his age.
Absolutely. So actually, that's a great segment into our next segue. Let's do it.
Segue into
our next segment. Yep. My bad, bro. My bad. It's been a long day. So week 6 matchup we're looking forward to the most. Jackie, I'm not even going to give anybody else a chance to try and deviate from what you just did. Let's get after it. Thursday night game, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, aforementioned, -7.5 now at the Philadelphia Eagles. Looks like Tampa Bay will still be without Carlton Davis on IR with a quad injury. You hate to see it. Maybe getting stud second-year safety Antoine Winfield back. TBD on that. They're going to be without Levante David, star linebacker. Tom Brady had a big wrap around his thumb, but they laughed it off, said it's going to be nothing to keep him out. Where do we see the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going into Philly in terms of not only the win, but the spread? Nick, kick us off, baby.
Yeah, I think the Bucs win this game by 17 points. So give me the Bucs plus 7.5, -7.5. No issues there. The Eagles might score some points, but they sure as hell ain't going to stop the Buccaneers, especially on a short week here. Listen, Brown is rolling into form here. He came back after missing a week. Still got all the options there. I will say that the Bucs offense actually is a lot worse with that Rob Gronkowski, and you could tell there's a big difference in the game plan. They finally got it together this past week. When he went out of that game against the Rams and then missed the Patriots game, that was big because Brady counts on Gronkowski in the red zone and third down, and specifically really counts on him to block. And Rob Gronkowski is the greatest blocking tight end of all time. Really didn't face any pressure against the Dolphins. So I couldn't name anybody in the Eagles' defensive line. So I don't think there should be any issues here. And I like the Bucs to roll in this one. And I think I would kind of go towards the over in this one because, again, I do think the Eagles will score a little bit, but they're not going to be able to contain the Bucs offense.
Okay, real quick, I find it disgraceful that you said you don't even know anybody in the Eagles D line. Let's not do Fletcher Cox like that. Let's maybe back that one up and acknowledge Fletcher Cox is one of the best defenders, period, in the last decade. So, Nick, shame on you. You're fired. Okay. Kyle, what do you think?
Well, here's what I think. Isn't Bunting the other guy in the secondary there for Tampa Bay? Bunting something. I can't think. Murphy Bunting, isn't that his last name?
Sean Murphy Bunting, yes.
Thank you. So he's also going to be out too as well, I think. So that being said, the entire secondary of the Buccaneers is out. So you would think that that's going to give the Eagles opportunity to go over the top in the passing game, and Levante David being out, so maybe there's opportunity in the running game. Only problem is now you got Dallas Goedert, who's on COVID-19 list, so that's going to hurt your tight end room. I mean, Zach Ertz is still there, but he's not Zach Ertz of 4 or 5 years ago. He's a shell of himself, Zach Ertz. That being said, we still know that the Eagles' offensive line is not good. And that being said, Jalen Hurts is Jekyll and Hyde as far as the quarterback goes this year. So as far as I'm concerned, despite all the Bucs' troubles on the defensive side of the ball and Brady's son being hurt, I just think they're way too talented a team, and they cover the spread here. But I don't think that you get over, because I don't think that the Eagles will be able to generate enough offense with the missing pieces. And also the Bucs won't have the necessity to keep running up the like. I feel like if it gets to like a 35-7 game, I could see the scoring ending right there.
What do you think, Jackie?
I kind of agree with both of you guys. I also think that what you were saying, Kyle, about Jalen Hurts, I think that you might see, although he doesn't always run for touchdowns, but last game he had 2 running touchdowns, and I just think maybe he'll try and continue that, especially if, the tight end situation that's going on there. But here's the thing. Tom Brady, I know, didn't practice. Obviously, he's going to play. But maybe not so obviously. I think obviously. But you never know. He might not be as on point as he was against Miami. So, and also still with Gronk out, he definitely utilizes his wide receivers more. Like Mike Evans, I feel like has seen more targets last game than he has over the last couple games, which I'm mad I sat him in my fantasy. But I don't know. I don't think it's going to be as crazy of a game like Nick that you're predicting. I think it's going to be closer than you both think. I think it's going to go for the under, and I'm not really good at betting, but let's see. I'll take a stab here. I think it's going to be closer. I don't think they'll cover the spread.
So you like the Eagles to cover the spread. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So here's what we got. You know my saying. Good teams win, great teams cover. Tampa Bay has not been great covering. Eagles and the Bucs are both 2-3 against the spread this year. Tom Brady, on the road since joining the Bucs, he's only 5-6 against the spread. 6-4 straight up. I'll say this: the Bucs D, their passing D has become a major concern with all the injuries. Like I said, Carlton Davis, Levante David. Now, maybe if you're missing Trump or if you're bunting, you don't know if you're getting Antoine Winfield back. It's becoming a concern. And even with Dallas Goedert on the COVID list, Jalen Hurts, that offense could still funnel a lot of yards. Like, Jalen Hurts has been very productive this year, even in garbage time. Like, listen, I'll be straight. They should have lost to the Panthers. I think the Panthers let their guard down. Carolina outplayed them for 55 minutes the entire game on Sunday. Let them back in it. They stole it late. Jalen Hurts is the offense right now. He's accounted for 40 or more pass and rush passing and rushing attempts combined in 4 or 5 games this season. It's begs the question, why are they not as balanced? Why are they not trying to run the ball? And obviously, teams don't run the ball on Tampa Bay. So, they're going to go pass heavy. Thursday nights are always tricky, but I got to say, I think Tampa Bay, after that loss to New England, they had enough. They're like, listen, we haven't had a good, convincing win in a while. We need to 40-piece a team. They did that with Miami. I think they're going to come out and they're going to embarrass Philadelphia. The one thing I need to keep my eye on before I truly commit to the Bucs -7.5 is seeing where the public money is going, because right now the public bets is close to 80% on Tampa Bay, and starting to approach fade the public territory. The 7.5 hook really is dangerous to me. But listen, I expect Tampa Bay to come out, put up 30, 35. They scored 30 or more points in 11 of their last 13 games if you include the postseason. So at the end of the day, Tampa Bay is the better team, and we should see Tom Brady in that offense just completely show out. Assuming Brady's, good to go, there's no reason why I think Tampa Bay won't put on a clinic. Tentatively right now, depending on any other updates, I would say I'm probably going to take Tampa Bay -7.5, but I won't fully commit just yet because I think there's still a couple questions to be answered. But I think we could expect, probably something in the ballpark of 55 points. I would say the over isn't that bad of a play. I do like Tampa in a teaser at -1, 1.5, whatever book you have that offers that, because Tampa Bay right now winning by 2, should be almost a foregone conclusion, but we know when stuff like that happens, it's very dangerous. One last thing I'll say about Tom Brady. Since 2010, he is 10-2 on TNF straight up. 10-2. 6-6 against the spread only, though. So that's one thing that kind of begs the question. But he gets the W on TNF more times than not.
So real quick, John, just before we get off the Eagles here, to your point, Tom Brady money line, bet him this week. That's a given. But the one thing I will say about Philadelphia's run game, as I was speaking with a gentleman that I was at the bar at this past weekend watching the games, and he is a Philly fan, so he was just and he kind of brought up a good point. The reason why Philly's not committed to their run game is because they have two scat backs and they don't have a power back to complement.
They don't have Miles Sanders is not a scat back. He's not like
but they use him as a scat back versus using him as a true power back.
That sounds like a Nick Sirianni problem. Not Miles Sanders is a game breaker, and they don't use him. They use him last week.
Then he's a game breaker, so he's more like an Austin Eckler and not a true power back. So see, there's where you're using that.
He's a scat back. There's a big difference between being a power back and a scat back. You could be somewhat in between. Miles Sanders is a dog, bro. Like, you got to use him more. Like, he needs at least 20 touches every game. Like, they're way too one-dimensional. Their defense isn't good enough. Like, I don't like what Nick Sirianni's doing. He's an absolute bum right now. They should have lost to Carolina, running off 4 straight losses. I don't want to hear it. Miles Sanders, I will not tolerate any slander from him. I love me some Miles Sanders. Nick Sirianni needs to be fired immediately for not deploying 20 touches to his RB1. He should be the cornerstone of that offense.
They need a power back. That's all I'm going to say.
Speaking of the Panthers, once a Jet, always a Jet. Sam Darnold back in form this past weekend. Incredible performance by him. 3 interceptions, leading the Panthers to a big loss. It was clear all season that without Christian McCaffrey, the Panthers are nothing.
Well,
that hurt.
Christian McCaffrey comes back this week. Run CMC, the true white halfback of the NFL. You love to see it. I think Run CMC comes back into true form and just gives Daddy a nice 30 piece in fantasy. So love to see it.
So does Sam Darnold go back to form with CMC back in the lineup?
Absolutely. Panthers play the Vikings. Next game here, we have the Chargers fresh off a 47-point showing on offense versus the Baltimore Ravens, who yet again lucked into another win. Will say it was very interesting to see Lamar Jackson on a comeback, dinking and dunking his way in the entire second half. Give credit where it's due. He made some key throws when he had to. The hurry-up offense just had the Colts on his heels. He played a great game. He played probably his best game as a professional last night, so let's give it where it's due. Ravens opening up -3 at home, over under 51.5. Where are we going, Jackie?
I think this game is going to be a shootout, and I am definitely taking the over for Chargers Ravens for sure. Like, with the numbers that both the quarterbacks can put up, and especially with Lamar, who can run. I'm going the over here. And I think the spread will be covered for sure.
On whose account?
She's going with the Ravens there.
Yes.
That's when you say the spread is covered, you would take the favorite in that phrasing there, just so you know, Jackie.
Okay.
And the favorite is the -3 with the Ravens.
Okay.
Kyle, what do you think, bud?
I'm actually glad that you brought me into here on the conversation there, buddy. So when you missed me on the points to talk about this past week, I was going to mention the Ravens on Monday night because that is such a huge game for Lamar Jackson to prove what that he's worth his salt as a quarterback. Finally, I think he finally did that. At least for me, he convinced me finally that he can actually get it done. I've been waiting for that moment, and last night was that moment. But here's the other instance too that stood out to me as a fan is that the Indianapolis Colts are really in trouble this year of getting out of hand quickly and being in a tailspin, in a dumpster fire tailspin, like very quickly. Tennessee is starting to widen the gap on them, and it's just looking like without Quentin Nelson, they're a completely different offense out there. They just don't – there's no cohesion on the offensive line. It just looks like a mess out there for them.
A lot of injuries forced them to play like – their secondary injuries yesterday. Lost Xavier Rhodes middle of the game. Like, they're dealing with. I think they were out with Rock Yassin. I think was out. one of their starting corners. They were having a lot of difficulties. And you notice they were up 19 points in the fourth quarter. They were playing a lot of soft not prevent, but a lot of soft zone defenses. I hate when teams do this. So they're up a healthy amount and they just relax and sit back. That is one of the most dangerous things you can do as a defense, is sit back and let somebody dink and dunk. If you notice, the Ravens, aside from the Hollywood 43-yard touchdown on pretty much a broken coverage, they didn't really have a ton of big plays. It was just a lot of 10 to 15-yard, short to intermediate, constant boom, 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 dink and dunk down the field for like 4 straight drives. That's what it was. The Colts sat back, and once you get into that mindset and that momentum and that routine, it's very hard to break. And like I said, a lot with the injuries, the Indianapolis Colts didn't have a lot of options. So, you hate to see it, but at the end of the day, like, you got to close that game out. I mean, come on, what are you doing? Like, you're up 19 points with like 8 minutes in the fourth quarter. Like, let's not start pulling the Atlanta Falcons here. And I have an interesting stat. I think going into the fourth quarter with a 16-point or more lead, the Colts were 120-0 since 1983 when they were the Baltimore Colts, when they blew their last game when they were up that much. So it just goes to show how bad it's been going for Indianapolis. But what do you think, Nick? Where are you going with this game?
Real quick, too, I'm going to take the Chargers in a surprise win over here. Sorry, I wanted to throw that in real quick. And the over as well. Chargers and the over here.
So, 2 things real quick I just want to chime in on here. The Colts, they're going to get lit up by my guy Davis Mills this upcoming week. He was incredible. Best rookie quarterback right now, hands down, in the NFL. Listen, this is the last time this year, Johnny, you will see the Chargers as underdogs. So you got to jump all over that. Chargers +3, such an easy bet. Take that all day. And let's go with the over, because that's what Herbert's going to do. He's going to put up touchdowns, 12 touchdowns in his last 3 games. This guy's a machine. And there's nothing I've seen from the Ravens other than their big win against the Chiefs that has impressed me defensively at all. They make me think they can even stop anybody. So it's going to be a lot of scoring. And I can understand why the Ravens are favoring this one. Doesn't make sense to me.
If I could chime in with you here, Nick, the other thing, too, is when you play prevent defense, and Johnny, to your point before, when you play prevent defense, the only thing you're preventing is yourself from winning. And clearly the Colts got a dose of that yesterday.
You should put that on a T-shirt.
Maybe we'll Jim Ross it and put it on a website somewhere and just start pushing T-shirts out.
So here's what I'll say. The Ravens aren't good. They're very lucky. The Ravens are a very lucky team. I don't even think they should have beat the Kansas City Chiefs. If Clyde Edwards-Helaire doesn't fumble that, CEH doesn't fumble, boom, Chiefs win. Justin Tucker's 66-yard field goal, boom, Lions win. Yesterday, the Colts don't just turn themselves around, boom, the Colts win. So let's call it what it is. I mean, there's a lot of stat padding going on. The Ravens defense is so bad, and this is so unlike them because, listen, we know they lost Marcus Peters. We know they lost Matt Judon in the offseason to go to New England. That was a big one. But listen, the Ravens defense is getting gashed. They're allowing over 400 yards per game. They've allowed 400 yards plus in 3 of 5 games this season. That is awful. I just cannot believe what I'm seeing from Baltimore, a team that we've known to be so defensively sound over the last 10 years. But here's where we're at. The Chargers are much better. I mean, the Chargers are so good. The week 1 and 2, I said it was very weird. It was fluky. That's not who they were, scoring only a combined 37 points in the first 2 weeks. What we've seen from week 3 on offensively, that's who the LA Chargers are. That's what we expect them. I think the Chargers should embarrass them offensively, defensively, especially the Ravens coming out on a short week. I don't care about the travel west to east. The one thing that concerns me, and I can't believe the Chargers are getting 3. I really can't. But the thing that concerns me, and I tell this to everybody that I put the betting out. So Friday I'll probably come out with a more secure phrasing here. But right now, LA is garnering 93% of the public bets. That is alarm bells to take the Baltimore Ravens. I don't like when people have to decide to come and take my side. Just let me live. But, I mean, listen, I think the Chargers should clap them. But if it stays 90+% on LA, I almost might be inclined to take Baltimore -3. I don't like it. I really don't. I think the Chargers should win this game because when you look at it, they're the much better team. Matchup-wise, let's call it what it is, though. People don't understand about the Chargers. They are the worst run defense in football right now. They're the worst. And it doesn't matter what they do. It sounds like Baltimore might be able to run it down their throats. And if that's the case, then you slow the game down a lot. That's where Baltimore is going to have the edge because at the end of the day, I do not think the Ravens will have a prayer in a shootout with the Chargers. I don't think they'll have a prayer. Playing from behind, kind of like how Kansas City goes, no way. So they're going to have to run the ball.
To your point, yeah, if you want to beat the Chargers and Justin Herbert, you got to treat him almost like Tom Brady and Pat Mahomes. You got to limit his touches at this point. You got to limit the amount of possessions he has.
That's the Browns had the right idea. The Browns had the right idea. They just kind of they kind of gave it away. They got some bad defensive injuries, like Denzel Ward missed. He goes out in the middle of the game. The Browns had the Chargers. The Browns, I think, outplayed the Chargers for the most part. I just think there was a couple bad lapses in judgment, a couple mistakes that let the Chargers really go in it. But as of now, I'll take LA. We're not done with this. I'm going to mention them just in just a bit. But our last game here, we got the Cardinals at the Browns. Nick, why don't you kick us off? The Browns are laying 2.5 at home versus Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very high on the Cardinals here. The Browns are better than their record, in my opinion. But Arizona, they're undefeated. They're, underdogs. I think they're 2-0 this year against the spread as underdogs. So, I mean, if you're going to give me points with the Cardinals here, I'll take them. So, give me the Cardinals here plus 2.5. I think the Cardinals will win this game, but it's going to be close. I'm going to take the under on this one. You think of Cardinals and Browns, you think, dynamic offenses, but sometimes that's true. Sometimes not. Cardinals only put up 17 last week. They should have scored a lot more. I think this is going to actually be a really close game, but I do have the Cardinals winning.
Do you see them possibly implementing some of the same strategy that we were just talking about with Johnny in the last game with the Chargers, where if you want to beat Kyler Murray, you have to limit his touches?
Well, that's the Browns strategy every week, which is run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. And that's why I don't like this people saying, Odell Beckham Jr. is done. His stats are worse with the Browns and the Giants. Well, the Giants strategy was the offense was throw the ball at Odell Beckham Jr. The Browns strategy is don't throw the ball unless we have to. So, of course, that's going to be a big difference there. The Browns are going to – that's what they do. They run the ball with Chubb and Hunt, and they're going to try to limit the amount of plays on offense for the very explosive Kyler Murray.
Now, do you think that is also because they just don't trust Baker Mayfield as like a true franchise quarterback yet? Do you think that has to play into it a little?
No, I think it's old school football, which is the run sets up the big plays in the pass. And when you have Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry as your wide receivers, now they're both healthy, if you're going to keep running the ball, and then bam, you sneak it to one of them, that's how they score points, and it's worked for the last 2 seasons for the Browns. And when you have 2 running backs who could be a number 1 on almost every team on the same team, you got to take advantage of your personnel.
I like everything that you just said there. But that being said, Nick, like you did mention, Landry is out right now, so that definitely hurts the Browns. Odell is kind of like he's in like this weird realm right now with his health. I feel like he's probably somewhere at about 80%, kind of like how Jarvis Landry was last year with his hip. He was just playing through it, except I think Jarvis is a lot tougher. I think he plays through a lot more injuries than Odell does. But here nor there. The point is, I don't think Odell's 100% right now. He's your number 1. He's basically the only one out there. I mean, Peoples-Jones is a nice receiver, but he's not a real dangerous number 2 threat. So you'd have to move Kareem Hunt out maybe into the slot. And I just feel like the Browns are going to get a little too far spread out. And I don't know if they'll be able to sustain the offensive pressure that they're going to need to keep Kyler Murray off the field. So I think this is going to be one where you take the Cardinals with the points. And I think you actually probably could take the over because the Arizona offense is an air raid offense. They don't waste time. They get to the line. They go. So if they're really clicking against this Browns defense, which, I mean, we all know that the Browns defense is supposed to be a really, really good defense, but last week they gave up 47 points. This could be a game where I could see them easily giving up another 40.
What do you think, Jackie?
I agree with Nick. I would take the under and the Cardinals. I just think, I think with Kyler Murray, I think he's great receivers. I think, and I like how they get to the line really quick. They don't waste time. And I think it's something to be said to have reliable receivers that you mesh well with, compared to the Browns, who like to run it on the ground. I think it allows the opportunity to get more points for your team. And I just think that the cohesion that Kyler Murray has with his receivers, I think he just needs to be a little bit more physical himself and run the ball a little bit more. And that will get them, continue potentially to keep their season undefeated. But we'll see. I think the under, though.
I personally think everybody's taking Arizona. Listen, I picked Cleveland to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. I want to see them win this game. They should have won last week, put up 42 against the Chargers defense. Let's call it what it is. Arizona's defense, their run defense is 5th worst in the NFL. They're allowing just under 140 yards per game. Guess what the Browns do? They run the ball as well as anybody. They have not had a game under 150 yards at any point this season. They're averaging over $150 on the ground per game. That's ridiculous right now. Like you said, they have two running backs that can be number ones on most teams in the NFL. Let's call it what it is. Arizona easily should have lost a couple games so far. They very well could have lost to the Niners on Sunday. They should have lost to the Vikings. I think they're good, but I don't think they're that good. And now Chandler Jones looks like he might be out on the COVID list, so that's a big loss for them. And I need to see what's going on with Cleveland secondary. They have a couple injuries. I think they missed Jadeveon Clowney last week. They need him back. They need Greg Newsome. They need Denzel Ward. They need their guys healthy. So, there's a lot of TBD with health. Good thing for me is the game is pretty split even so far early in the week on bet percentage. I think Cleveland's only getting 52% of the public bets. It's not lopsided at all. It's almost as even as you can get. I think Cleveland laying 2.5. They're due, man. They had a loss in a game that they should have won. Arizona, I think it's time to sell high on them. Yes, they're going to cash over on their win total for the season. Kyler Murray is firmly in the MVP. He is the real-life Tommy Pickles. If he was a person, he's a little rugrat running around. I think he's going to be getting chased by Myles Garrett this week. And listen, I want to see Cleveland go back to their bread and butter. I want to see 35 rush attempts. I want to see Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb ball out and combine for 200 rushing yards on Sunday. And listen, I think Arizona, Kyler Murray is going to get his. But at the end of the day, Cleveland's defense is good enough to hold this offense down. If you look at it, like DeAndre Hopkins is not blown up yet this season. Rondell Moore, he's had a couple big performances, mainly off a couple broken plays. Nobody on Arizona's offenses is really thriving besides Kyler Murray. He's kind of spreading it out. Yes, that's what a good quarterback does, not locking in onto one person. However, I think Cleveland's defense is capable to stop them. They're at home. And let me tell you something. There could be some weather elements. A desert team that plays inside coming on the road that doesn't run the football particularly that well or play defense that well, coming into a tough situation where, if it's windy, it's rainy, their air attack might be grounded a little bit. So I like Cleveland here. I think it's time for them to get back on the off the schneid, get back on the winning ways. And Arizona is due for a loss. They were more than overdue.
The one thing I will say, though, Johnny, to counteract your point a little bit, is that being that like you said, nobody on Arizona has really gone off this year. So imagine if all of them click in one game this week, making a statement in a game against an opponent like Cleveland, where everybody picked them to be a Super Bowl contender this year. A measuring stick game for the Cardinals.
Imagine if I won the lottery. Listen, it's possible. I'm just saying, this is how they're doing it so far. So the run game, that's their bread and butter. If they continue to run the ball the way they are, it's Cleveland, honestly.
The one thing that would worry me more about Cleveland with their defense than Jadeveon Clowney, because I think Jadeveon's just a dog at this point. I mean, my team, he clearly did nothing last year, so I got to see him up close and personal. I think, if anything, you got to worry more about Denzel Ward, because Denzel Ward has been a really cognate stable in that secondary for quite a few years now.
Well, you need, Denzel Ward. You got to make sure you guys are healthy. And listen, man, I'll say this: I've been high on Cleveland. I think it's time for them to win. I mean, they let 2 games against key AFC opponents get away this year. They let it get away against the Chiefs with that bizarre punt drop from the Scottish Hammer, and the Chargers. They let 2 games get away against teams that they are probably going to have to see in the AFC playoff hunt later down the season. So, I understand the Cardinals are in the NFC, but this is one of the top teams in the NFL right now. So you got to get after it, and you can't be sitting back. And honestly, the way Baltimore's going, I would expect the Chargers to win, but the way Baltimore's going, you don't want to let them get too much of a lead. They're hobbled. Listen, I said Baltimore should be a 2-3 team right now, but the way it's going, they're 4-1. So, if you're Cleveland, you got to keep patient. You got to beat the Cardinals. So that brings us to the Gambling Guinea's best betting trends of the week. Let's get a little 6-point teaser. We got back on the winning ways, so we are 4-1 so far this season on the 6-point teasers, 2-team teasers. Let's go Kansas City. They had a horrible loss at home against Buffalo, -0.5 point at the Washington football team. I don't know what the hell's going on with Kansas City. There's another 6.5-point favorite. I'm not saying I'm necessarily rushing to back Kansas City with the 6.5, but I think they should do enough to win. I mean, come on. If not now, when? What are you doing, Kansas City? Let's get this dub. Stop playing around. Next, we got the Chargers +9. We just talked about it. They're getting 3 at Baltimore. I think they're the better team. Getting 9 points or pushing it past the key number, past the one-possession game. I think Justin Herbert is going to be Herbie fully loaded, just like that movie with Lindsay Lohan. I think it was about the car. And I think he's going to come back out for another 350, 3 tuds. He's got 12 tuds to no turnovers total in his last 3 games. Let's get after it. Herbie building that MVP case. Your Honor, no objections. As we close out the show, we have the Emerging Player of the Night brought to you by Emerge Sports Group, our boy Jayhan. I decided to go with 1, Marcus Lynn, Mookie Betts for the LA Dodgers. Listen, we talked about it. The Dodgers got shut up, Kyle. The Dodgers got absolutely hosed yesterday. Mad Max throws a gem, 7 innings, 10 Ks, 1 run, and they lose 1-0. So listen, Mookie Betts is a former MVP. He's the guy you bring here for a big game. The situation, the offense for the Dodgers has been very shaky. Kyle, I will slap you if you don't stop right now the shenanigans. I don't appreciate it. This is what you bring him here for. Mookie Betts, he's a 5-tool player, and he needs to play like an MVP. I expect to see Mookie Betts 3 for 5 tonight, 2 runs scored, 3 RBIs, maybe a ding shot, and a nice play in the field, some good base running to go along with it. Dodgers need this dub to keep their season alive. Let's get it. Don't want to hear anything about it.
Not anything about how the billboard that they put across the street from Fenway Park. How's that billboard look now? How's it look, Dodger fans? A couple months ago, Dodgers fans put a billboard right across the street from Fenway Park, basically thanking the Red Sox fans for Mookie Betts. How's that $330 million look now, Dodger
Nobody
fans?
cares.
How good does it look?
They won the World Series last year. I think it looks pretty good. You
got one. But guess what? We're right back in it with the guys that you sent us in Verdugo and Kiki Hernandez.
If you get swept by the Astros, I don't want to hear a thing about it. I'm going to put Duncan.
By the way, Kiki Hernandez was not in the trade. He was on the Dodgers last year. He won the World Series.
I kept you on your toes, Nick.
Okay. Guys, what's our final thoughts? Jackie, let's start with you.
My final thoughts are the 150th NHL season begins tonight. Tonight. So many stories. We have the Seattle Kraken in their first game of the first season on the road in Vegas versus the most recent expansion team, the Vegas Golden Knights from 2017, who went to the Stanley Cup final their first year. So are the Kraken going to have the same sort of experience. I don't think the Kraken are as loaded as the Golden Knights were back in 2017. However, they have a great goaltender in Philip Grubauer, and I'm excited to see what their new captain, Mark Giordano, does with the whole squad. I'm fully in on the Kraken. I've been fully in on the Kraken since, 2021? Since probably 2019 when they announced the name and the logo of the 32nd NHL franchise. So I'm all about the Kraken. Although before that game, we have the Pittsburgh Penguins visiting the Lightning for their raising of the Stanley Cup banner, which has been just chilling up there for a couple years. A lot of people think a three-peat is happening. It very well could. They have Conn Smythe winner goalie Andrei Vasilevsky. They have Nikita Kucherov. They have so many great players that were still on the squad during the 2 wins, although center Yanni Gourde is now with the Kraken, and I think that's going to be a really good asset for them. I could talk about this all day, so I will leave it at that.
Jackie, real quick. Mark Giordano, wasn't he the former defensive captain for the Calgary Flames?
Yes.
Not defensive captain, overall captain.
Well, I know overall captain, but he's the defenseman. Thank you. Exactly. Jackie knew exactly where I was going with it.
Yes. Yeah, and you are correct. And I've always loved him. I feel like his leadership is great. And, he's just going a little south into the US. He has a new home, but I think he'll be great. I'm really excited.
To your point about the expansion draft, the way that the NHL expansion draft is set up, it's sort of set up so that the expansion team could essentially kind of hit the ground running and really compete. That's why you saw the Golden Knights have such a good time in their first year. I don't think the Kraken get to that kind of success, but I could definitely see them making a playoff appearance here.
Yeah, for sure. And I just remember during the expansion draft, first of all, I don't understand why the Golden Knights didn't have to give up a player. They've been a part of the league for 4 years at this point, and they should have to give one up, and they didn't have to, which I didn't like that. But I didn't dive into the rule book, so I don't really have an answer for that, but I just didn't like it. But yeah, I think they got some good players. They made some moves, but I don't think they're as stacked as Vegas was. But who knows? Everyone was predicting the Avalanche to win the Stanley Cup last year. People are still predicting this year that they're going to make an even deeper run because I think they lost early on, second round maybe. But I don't know. I really hope the Tampa Bay Lightning, sorry, Johnny, if you're a Lightning fan, I hope they don't. I really don't want to see him three-peat because I always was so
Johnny's a fan of the parades.
Yeah,
I am a fan of the parades. That's why I wanted the Rays to win.
That would have been really cool though to have that happen all in the same time frame. But I always thought it was really cool, even though there were times there are times of repeat in the NHL. But I always found it really cool that usually it's a different team that is taking home the Stanley Cup, and I just always loved that, and I hope they don't three-peat.
To Jackie's point about the hockey, it's truly anybody gets in, and it's a crapshoot at that point. Anybody's got a shot. But to your point, Jackie, about Tampa Bay repeating, it's going to be hard for them this year, especially because last year they had Nikita Kucherov get injured very early in the year. They put and with the way that the hockey rules work, they put him on IR, and his contract came off the salary cap. So they had all the room to get another player to bring. And then when Kucherov came back for the playoffs, well, our hands are tied. We don't know what the hell to do in this situation. So I don't know. It's going to be really tough for the Lightning to repeat, especially in that kind of scenario.
We can all agree the Devils are going to suck, though.
Unfortunately, yes, they are 1,000% going to suck. Yes.
Yes. They will. And that's okay. But you know what? They signed Dougie Hamilton. So I think in a few years, maybe they can kind of build, even though he's a defenseman, but he's really big and he's good.
That's what they need, Jackie. You see that 4 jersey right there, right behind me? That's why they haven't won since 2003, because they need defensemen like that guy to be there. So Dougie Hamilton, Kevin Ball is a really great.
Can we stop talking about the Devils?
We're
I
in the New
care.
Jersey. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Guys,
I'm a
guys,
Rangers
I
fan.
gotta be honest. Guys, I gotta
That's
be
all right.
honest. I really could care less about NHL. It's so great. Like, I'm gonna go to a Lightning game or two while I'm down here, but I just
Anyway,
can't listen to any more NHL.
Those were my thoughts.
Love it. Nick, what about you, bud?
Roll Tide. How about that Alabama Crimson Tide getting a big loss? I love it. Too bad the Fighting Irish couldn't beat Cincinnati because they'd be sitting pretty right now. I'm really happy Alabama lost, but unfortunately, they're still going to get in the playoff. It's going to be them, Georgia, for sure. If Oklahoma goes undefeated, they'll get in. It's going to be interesting to see it. Michigan is good. Michigan State's good. Iowa is good. So we'll see what happens in the Big Ten. Not a big college football guy, but always rooting for Alabama, USC, and Ohio State to lose. That's what I want to say. Screw that. I can't stand those people. And we'll see what happens. But I'm scared because Ohio State, even with a loss, is sneaking back up to number 7 here, which makes no sense to me because there's 3 undefeated teams in the Big Ten. But nonetheless, very happy to see that Alabama has lost. And we'll see what happens for the rest of the college football season.
Of course, Nick, like you said, Notre Dame can't stay undefeated, right? The one year that they can't do it, when Alabama loses.
They'd be in the college football playoff, no doubt about it.
Georgia running through everybody, so we'll see if they start feeling themselves and they just take their foot off the gas for a week and somebody just slides in on them. So I guess here my final thoughts are,
I guess I have none, huh?
Oh, do you have final thoughts? Okay, go ahead.
One quick thing.
Talk about this F1 race. We got to look forward to this weekend.
No.
Well,
let me get there. Russell Wilson is going to be a huge, huge injury for the Seattle Seahawks.
Oh, really?
Geno Smith. I'm just saying, like Geno
Seahawks
Smith.
are done.
I have Russell Wilson as 2 of my fantasy quarterbacks. So yes, I needed to make a point about this. So it's going to be crucial for the Seahawks to stay on track. I don't think they're going to be able to do it, but we'll see what happens. For those of you that have the Russell Wilson, don't buy into the Geno Smith hype. He is not that good.
Are you done? Is that it? Great. I'm ecstatic. Okay, so in any case, guys, final thoughts. I just guess it has to be, I love seeing the Yankees suffer. Look at it. The Astros and the Red Sox in the ALCS. It's nice to see every now and then. I used to be a big Yankee hater. It was more because the fans, they rub you the wrong way. Like, yes, I'm a Met fan. Like, I don't really have any true animosity towards the Yankees anymore. But every now and then, I like to see them suffer just a little bit. Aaron Boone, it sounds like he's going to come back next year. Why? I don't know. Don't ask me. I think he's got to go. I think the Yankees' whole approach is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Like, you got to go, man. Like, listen, I love the Joey Gallo, Anthony Rizzo bringing 2 big eye towels to New York. Like, it's home. I get it. I love it. But at the end of the day, like, the Yankees have been broken forever. I've mentioned this, I don't know how many times over the last decade. They refuse to get their pitching sorted. Like, okay, great. You get Garrett Cole. And he's probably battling a little bit of the hammy injury. He wasn't sharp at the end of the season. He logged a lot of innings when he, over the course of the year. It happens, but listen, the guys like Corey Kluber, Jamison Taillon, like, it's not going to cut it. Now you get Sevy back, hopefully, for next year. They got to go get somebody. They have to. Maybe a Marcus Stroman wouldn't be bad, getting a crosstown rival from the Mets. But the Yankees, I think you just really got to reconsider who you're letting run your team. Cashman, got to go. Aaron Boone, pack your bags, baby, because you got to go. That's my final thoughts. But you know what? I like seeing the Yankees suffer every now and then. So maybe next year, as they would say.
27 rings, bro. 27 rings.
We're chasing for 28,
Not this
bro.
year.
We're chasing 28. We're chasing 28.
Not happening this year.
So we thank you very much, Jackie, for joining us. You can follow everybody on Twitter. I'm @_JohnnyVTV. Nick's @Nick_Durs. Chaka doesn't have a Twitter. Maybe one day. And Jackie is @SportsJackie. Thank you very much for joining us. Talk to you on Friday with Andrew Kelly for the best bets. And then we will see you again on Tuesday where your guest, TBD. Thank you very much, everybody. See you next week.